So for this video, I will be answering questions in the Rock On Rap Songs book tag. And I was kindly tagged by, I think, a couple of people. One, already Overbooked. Go subscribe to him already if you haven't already. And then I was also tagged by Nico from Nico's Book Reviews. Also go sub to him if you haven't already. So I figured I might as well do this. A couple of people want me to do it, so I'm going to give the people what they want. And this tag kind of all revolves around different various rock songs and rap songs. I will be honest, I'm not a big fan of rap, but I love rock music. But yeah, so half of these songs I know and enjoy, and then the other half, not so much. But we're not going to be talking about the songs themselves. All these songs are kind of based off of prompts here, so we're going to be going off the prompts and then answering those questions. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So question number one is It's a Hard Knock Life by Jay-Z. I do know that song, but not a big Jay-Z fan. But the question is, a fiction or nonfiction book about an orphanage, a poor family, or an orphan. And one of my first instincts for orphan characters is the lives of Locke Lamora. Locke Lamora is an orphan, so that definitely fits here. Probably one of my favorite orphan characters, although there are some orphan characters that I can't mention are orphans because it would be spoiler to say that, so I'm not going to go into that direction. But yeah, Locke Lamora, when we first meet him, he is an orphan, and we don't really know too much about his parents, but he's still able to live a very interesting life. But yeah, Locke Lamora is definitely one of my favorite orphan characters. And then we have question number two, which is Walk This Way by Aerosmith featuring Run DMC. I do know that song, although I do prefer the original Aerosmith version. The Run DMC version is fine, but I do prefer the original. But anyway, the question is a pretty good question for this song. Very fitting. A favorite book of yours that blends genres, because obviously that is blending rock and rap together pretty usefully. But my favorite books that blend genres would probably have to be the Dark Tower series, because Stephen King normally will write kind of suspense, horror, and thriller books, but for this fantasy magnum opus, he blends so many different genres, especially Western in the first book, but kind of throughout the series. But you've got Western, you've got sci-fi, you've got fantasy, you've got horror, you've got action adventure, you've got romance, you've got a little bit of everything in this series. So it's definitely a series that definitely blends genres very well. And question number three is Just Lose It featuring Eminem. I do know probably like a couple Eminem songs. This one I do not know. Not a big fan, but oh well. A book that you think is funny or ridiculous in a bad way. And I'm going to go with Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. I'm not going to go too much into it because the other day I did a dedicated rant review for this book. I did not like this book, to say the least, so go check that out if you haven't already. That one, I go into spoiler-filled details about why that book sucked. So that book was ridiculous in a bad way. Next song I know very well, one of my favorites, Thunderstruck by AC/DC. Great rock song. And the prompt is a book that shocked you in a good or bad way. So for this one, because Alice Feeney, Beautiful Ugly was in a bad way, I'm going to go with in a good way. Kind of. I'm going to go with The Push by Ashley Aldrin. And this one just has some of the most upsetting scenes that I've read in a long time. I read this a couple years back, and it's just very disturbing. It's one of the few books that just has like a guttural reaction for me, very visceral, where just you read a couple of lines in this book and it just is a gut punch to your soul. So this book, kind of in a good way, but also like you kind of feel bad reading it, is, you know, it's something. Another great and iconic rock song is Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses. And this prompt is all about a book that takes place or around Los Angeles, LA. And I was kind of having a hard time thinking of like what books, because a lot of books I read are either fantasy or like Stephen King, where like it takes place in Maine or really cold environments. So I'm trying to think. And one of the more obvious ones that I finally realized was Hidden Bodies by Caroline Kepnes. This is the second book in the You/Joe Goldberg series. The first book kind of takes place in New York, but Joe Goldberg has to leave New York for reasons. And so the city that he decides to go to is LA. So this whole book kind of takes place in or around the Los Angeles area. And Joe Goldberg had some things to say about all the people that live there. And this book is great, and I love it. So yeah, Joe Goldberg in LA definitely fits for the Welcome to the Jungle prompt. Another great rock song is Gimme All Your Lovin' by ZZ Top. And the prompt is your favorite romance book. Or if you don't read romance, your favorite couple in any book. So I was originally going to maybe go with a couple like Eddie and Susanna from The Dark Tower, which was featured in my best Stephen King couples video, if you want to go watch that real quick. But I decided to go with probably my favorite romance book, because I read thrillers, horrors, fantasy, sci-fi. I'm not a big romance guy. I don't seek out romance, but an author that I really enjoy who does write good romance is Taylor Jenkins Reid. So probably my favorite would be maybe In Another Life. Her other books, like Daisy Jones, Carrie Soto, Malibu Rising, they have some romance, but they're not specifically about the romance. But this one, I would argue, is probably just a straight up romance book, even though it has a really cool premise. Maybe In Another Life, this book is just really good. I gave it 5 stars, so probably my favorite just straight up romance book. Next song is by an artist that I really don't like that much. It's Fight for Your Right to Party by Beastie Boys. Really not a big fan of Beastie Boys, but the prompt for this one is a book centered around a celebration. And I figured I would try to get a King book in here besides The Dark Tower. And I was trying to think, like, what Stephen King books are like around a celebration? And then Stacy actually chimed in, my wife, and she said, oh, well, Carrie, because of the prom. So yeah, that fits. Even though that the prom gets kind of rudely interrupted in this book. I won't spoil it if you don't know. I'm sure most of y'all probably know what goes down in this book, but there is a prom. Carrie does get asked out to the prom, and things happen there. I'll leave it at that. Next up, we have Firestarter by Prodigy. I have no idea what that song is, but the prompt is a book that has fire in the title or has an orange or red cover. And I was originally thinking like, oh, well, Firestarter by Stephen King, but enough of Stephen King. I've made enough Stephen King stuff. So I'm going to choose a book that has kind of a red, orangey cover, and that would be Mr. Splitfoot by Samantha Hunt. And this book I read a long time ago, and I absolutely love this book. I actually read this book in one sitting. Like, I remember just being in bed around like 7 or 8 o'clock, and I did not get out of bed until I finished this book. Like, literally one sitting. I was enthralled by the characters and just what was going on in this book. I really need to reread it because I want to figure out if it's still top 10 worthy, because I've read so many great books since then. But this book definitely has a very striking kind of red orange color to it, so it definitely fits the prompt. And the last prompt here is Humble by Kendrick Lamar. I'm pretty sure I've heard this song, but again, not a big rap fan. But the prompt is a fiction or nonfiction book that left you stunned at the audacity of the main character or the author. And the book that I'm going to go with is probably one of my favorite books that I've read in all of 2025 so far, and that would be Small Mercies by Dennis Lehane. The main character of this book, and again, I'm not very good with remembering main character names, but the main character of this book, the things that she does to find out what she needs to find out, the lengths that she's willing to go to, just the audacity, like, just holy crap, the things that she's willing to do to figure out what's going on. Yeah, so this book definitely fits this prompt. All right, so those were the 9 questions in, what's this tag called? The Rock On Rap Songs book tag. Very fun tag, even though, like I said, I'm more of a fan of rock music than rap. The prompts were still great, so this was a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and tag a couple of people. I believe they've already been tagged, but a cool thing that we do on the Bookish Drummer Discord is the Battle of the Bands readathon, and we're going to be doing round 5 in April. And so far, I have done it, Nico has done it, and my wife Stacy, who is the co-creator of the readathon, has done it. The other 2 captains, I believe, haven't done it yet, which would be Nala from Here There Be Stories and my good pal Ian from Ian the Reader. So I'm going to tag y'all. If y'all do it, all 5 of us for the Battle of the Bands would have done it. So I think that would be cool. So get on it. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much to Already Overbooked and Nico for tagging me in this tag. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching. And also, comment down below, what are your answers to all of these questions, or some of these questions? I'd love to chat about it with you in the comments. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up for me, and like and subscribe, and stay subscribed for more content whenever that comes out. I usually post Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I did post a video this past week on Thursday because I forgot to schedule it on Wednesday, and the algorithm did not like that. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But also, what else do I got going on? Patreon, link down below for that if you want to go support me there for as little as $1 a month. And like I mentioned, Boogerstormer Discord. We will eventually be having the Battle of the Bands readathon, like I mentioned. And then every month we have tons of buddy reads and read-alongs going on. So definitely a fun environment to chat about books. And got my Amazon wish list if you'd like to buy me a book. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a fantastic day.